What's up, dog? What's up, everybody? What's up? What's happening? It's your boy Michaud coming from Murphy Down, Abaco, one of the settlements and islands in the Bahamas. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is making a difference. It's been a while since I've done a video. I had a few videos on YouTube. Yeah, more or less relative to credit, borrowing, stuff like that. I ventured out a bit more now. I'm now also a realtor. Have my real estate license. Been in the game a while, but never licensed. Never sold property, but always did my research. Finance property through the bank that I work at and all of that. So I've always been fond and always been around real estate for the past 11 or so years, so I understand the game. Have a good idea of what it takes if you want to buy real estate, sell real estate. You have a good understanding of that. But the video that I'm talking about today is not about real estate. It's actually about making a difference. In the end, I may marry the two of them, but who knows? I really want to talk about making a difference. I think I want to start with community partnership. The area that I live in, it's predominantly one of the predominantly black communities on Abaco. They're very historic. It's still buildings around that are occupied, persons live in them that are over 100 years old. So a lot of history, not shared the way it should be, but it's there. And why community partnerships? Well, the community could be cleaned up a bit. The people here, beautiful people, they get along well. Most of the persons here are family people. They hang out late at night, they talk all the time, and persons would say that's ghetto. It's not ghetto. It's not ghetto, Violence is next to nil. People get along well. Everyone gels. It's a beautiful community to be in. But some areas you have cars that needs to be removed, broken down on the side of the road, and some areas could be cleaned up a bit more. We could use a bit, some more, front yard attraction, curb appeal could be heightened in the area. But other than that, it's a beautiful place to be, but most people, they look at the exterior, and that's a given. The world that we live in is a very judgmental society, so people judge based on what they see initially. And the question has been, how do we clean it up? We have governments, we've had local government, but, the area just doesn't seem to get the facelift that it needs. And it's not all of it. It's really about 30 to 40% of the area that could really use a facelift. But, you look at what persons who've had, community control through local government or, district council, whatever, you look at what they have done. I guess they tried, but it has to be done by the community, guys. That's really what it is. The community has to partner up and feel as though it's important enough to, to bring it to a level that would satisfy the average person that is walking through the area. It's mostly residential. Some persons have small businesses out of their homes, one or two little mom and pop shops. But there's also an industrial part, that is benefiting from being in the area. There's a waterfront that could be taken advantage of. There's a lot of things that could be done, but not one individual is going to get it done. We're going to need a community mind to come together, to reason out what's best for the community and how do we best accomplish it. There's an old proverb said that if everyone would sweep in front of their own doorstep, the community would be clean. While that is true, we have to also be our brother's keeper. It's not good just to sit down and talk about, well, this one yard could be better, or that one, they could do a bit more to get a facelift going on their own. But sometimes we also have to take responsibility, go out there, do the community service, and help to clean up the area. Help to clean up so that the block that you live on, the block that we live on, would be much more presentable. And that we would feel better about ourselves, and then persons would feel better when they drive through the area. So it comes through community partnerships. The stores, the food stores, and the takeaways, and the block plants, and the sun oil, and everything else. Come together with the community, have incentives going for persons to keep it clean. Invest some money, invest some time, whatever it is. It's a community. We have to treat it that way. And if we don't do that, we're going to keep getting more of what we have now. Something that we're not going to be happy with and we're not going to be pleased with. But I'm telling you that if we work together to get it done, it's going to be much more pleasing. So that may be a bit direct, but you can look at the area that you live in. Look at what changes need to be made. Look at those persons who may be leaders in the community, and find out how you could work together just to do something that's going to make you personally feel better, and also to make the community as a whole feel better about the community that you live in. The second part about making a difference, and I want to touch on this, is youth development. I'm a part of a youth group at the church that I attend, Change Ministries International, here in Murphytown, Abaco, and it's pastored by Samuel Cornish and his wife Carmen Cornish. They're lovely people, and they have a good vision for Abaco. And 360 Youth is the name of the group that we work with. One of the leaders there, and I can tell you, we have some amazing kids. They only need some guidance. They need somebody to hold their hand in some cases. A lot of the kids may not have father figures in their homes, fathers who are not there or who have died. So sometimes there are challenges that you have to take on, and that you can only take on by choice. We look at things and we say it's not my responsibility. But if you don't take it on, who else is going to do it? It's often said that 20% of the persons do 80% of the work, and 80% of the persons do 20% of the work. I'm thinking about it because last week, we were on a college tour with some of these kids. We got 26 kids over to the U.S. We drove from Florida, we drove through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. We went to D.C., just visiting schools. We came back down, went to Atlanta. Some of the schools that we visited, the Aviation Institute of Maintenance in Orlando, Florida. It was an awesome visit. It was beautiful. Went to Howard University, Full Sail University, Atlanta Tech. We got to see some, just some history. We went to Morehouse. The men went to Morehouse. The women visited Clark University there in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's just an awesome time just to open up the minds of the young people, to get them to realize there's more out there, there's more that you could do with your life. And just to get a heightened awareness of where you could be if you only could get the knowledge. It was so beautiful. And the kids, over a week's time, the amount of information they got and the amount of knowledge that they got and the way they grew in just a short period of time, it was mind-blowing, man, just to see the level of maturity 1 week can make. With being there first time, getting information from people who've been there, people who know better. So that college experience is something that we definitely want for them. But sometimes they don't know what they could have unless we help them to see what is out there for them, what is available for them. More than just what media gives to them. We have to be intentional about how we raise the kids in the communities that we live in. We can't allow the streets anymore to raise children. It hasn't worked out good for us in the black communities. In the Bahamas, we suffer some of the same things that those in the U.S. suffer, and it seems to be universal at times. But definitely, youth development, man. We need to work more with our youth. Give them dreams again, give them hopes, give them aspiration. When you were younger, Nothing was impossible. You could have been anything that you wanted. You know, any toy that you bought, whether it was an astronaut, a cowboy, you know, there were no businessmen toys per se. But whatever it is that we saw, we wanted to be a doctor. We say, you know, a wrestler. I want to be that. And there were no boundaries. It was just, I'm going to do it. We practiced, we played wrestling, we played dashing, we played all of the things. We wanted to be in the army. We had the little toy army men, those that would creep on the ground, the little green men and the brown men that just stood up or laid down in place. You know, they didn't do anything, but we used our imagination and used our creativity. Then when life starts to hit, you get older, it's like everything changes. And, you know, you start to find comfort in this box that society puts us in. But, you know, I want to encourage you guys, even the older people, get back that creativity, that imagination that you guys had as youth. Because, you know, when you have it, it's going to be easier to train it and to develop it in these young people, because nothing gets done without imagination, nothing gets done without creativity, nothing gets done without faith and foresight. And, you know, that's what we train into these young people, and that's what we want them to have. We want them also to have a sense of community partnership, community development, community involvement. Because a lot of us older persons, we missed it, and we need to find a way to move it up. But definitely, you know, find a program that you could work in. Pour some of yourself into these kids that are around you, that are on the blocks, that are on the streets, because they're looking for mentors, they're looking for people, they're looking for positivity. We can't sit around and say they don't want it. And that's what I want to move on to. Lastly, passing it on. You know, you have a lot in you. You learned a lot, you've grown, and, you know, it's time that you pass it on to the young people, pass it on to somebody else, redevelop yourself in someone, and work together to make this world a better place. So that's my first video. It went a bit longer than I wanted it to, but definitely thank you guys for listening, and talk to you later.